Okay, in 30 minutes, we get Seoul kicking in for the Thursday session. The won, KRW, after we got that revised, pretty much bang in line, smacking line third quarter GDP number. So, June, this GDP report, this revision, probably not going to really impact the market, or do you think it'll underscore the mood today?
Hi, Bernie. I think that because it was in line with expectations, we won't see that much of an impact on the market. We had third quarter revised GDP growth coming in, showing a 0.9% growth quarter on quarter, again, in line with market expectations. But while it is showing an improvement from the 0.5% growth in the previous quarter, it is slower than the 1.1% growth we saw in the third quarter last year. The growth is coming from investments by builders, construction sector. For this quarter. These investments were up 2.5% year on year, and we are seeing an improvement in consumption as well, which is good news. We're seeing an improvement of 1% in private spending. According to economists, for next year, Korea is expecting to see its GDP grow by 3.7% in 2015. This is higher than the 3.5% which was forecast for this year. They are saying that next year we are expecting to see stronger exports, which again for the third quarter we saw a weaker picture for exports, which was the first decline that we've seen in the first three quarters. Bernie, back to you.
Okay, June, stick around because we've got Yoon Kwon in the house, senior Korea economist at Nomura, and joins Sue and me around the table here in Hong Kong. So there are no big surprises in this revision here, but what kind of forward indication does it give you in terms of where the economy is headed? And I know that you folks at Nomura are a bit out of consensus in terms of what's likely to come from the BOK on policy.
That's true. Actually, the October and November data is worse than a Q3 data. So that means we believe the GDP will slow down in a Q4 from the Q3. And then we think there is a lot of the downside risk to the Bank of Korea's their own GDP growth forecast. The BOK, their own forecast for next year GDP growth 3.9%, but our Nomura forecast is 3.5%. So biggest difference, I think, that's the export.
Korea is the fourth largest economy across the Asia Pacific, and I'm wondering, is the weak yen having a big impact right now on the Korean economy?
In the short term, it's not a big kind of problem at this moment because Japanese exporters, they're not going to cut their export prices. But there is a medium-term competitiveness issue because the Japanese exporters, they increase their earnings, so they increase their R&D budget.
Right.
But in Korea, we may maintain the market share, but the problem is the squeeze the margin or relatively underperform the earnings. So there should be a medium-term competitiveness issue.
And the export basket competition, I mean, the Taiwan is a bigger factor too now, isn't it? I mean, it used to be Japan versus Korea in terms of end markets, but there's the Taiwan factor that comes into play as well?
Well, some of the sectors, Korea also compete with Taiwan in terms of the electronics, but overall, Korea is more the head-to-head competition with. The free trade agreement has a long-term impact. Okay? It will take a long time to have an impact on the economy. But the monetary policy basically is the policy on the business cycle. We see the downtrend in Korean economic growth already happened, and it will continue going into Q1.
Young-sun, say hi to June in Seoul.
June?
Hi.
Hi, just a quick question on the FX move. So the won-dollar, won-yen moves have been especially volatile this year, and corporate earnings have been negatively affected. But despite this, are there any sectors that you see outperforming next year in the Korean markets? And where do you see the won-dollar, won-yen going in the next couple of quarters?
Obviously, we know that the Korean policymakers, they are concerned about weaker Japanese yen. As a result, they try to synchronize Korea won in line with the Japanese yen. But we believe the yen may weaken further than Korea won, given that there is the big kind of a difference in terms of the balance of payment or current account surplus. Korea's current account surplus now is larger than Japan. So overall, we believe the Korean won will depreciate against the US dollar, but it will appreciate against the Japanese yen.
All right. Young-sun, how many Young-sun kwons do you think are out there?
Well, there's a couple of them. It's not a unique name.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I'm asking, because this is my favorite story from the Korean Peninsula this morning. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, he has issued an edict saying there can only be one Kim Jong-un.
What do you think of that? They're going to run out of characters, aren't they?
I didn't know that. But probably there's a Kim Jong-un in the South Korea.
Well, it's not just Kim Jong-un, because apparently he's imposed similar bans on the use of the two former leaders, his father and his grandfather, Kim Jong-il, Kim Il-sung. Apparently this is part of the propaganda drive to build cults of personality around them.
So it kind of elevates the dynastic family then? So people have to change the name to like Kim 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 or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. Is it just Jong-un that they need to change? Because Kim is, I would say, probably the most common surname out there.
In Korean Peninsula.
I'm sure it's not the surname. There's a very limited number.
I'm just saying.
All right. Thanks, Young Sam. Looking at some of the other stories we're watching on this Thursday morning, Sony will reportedly point the finger at